Most people are only listening to the sound of words versus the meaning of words. And what that looks like is you're having a conversation with someone, they say something, you say, okay, I hear it, I process it, and you respond, and they immediately come back and say, that's not what I said. And it becomes arguments. Welcome back to Along the Spiritual Journey. This is one of the things that I've learned where I became a huge nerd when I was younger and got into reading and writing and linguistics and all of these different things in communications where I was a kid of trauma. And so I would learn, I would hear someone speak and they would say certain words. And so I, understanding the meaning of the actual word, would do it. And they would be like, that's not what I meant. And then they would get mad at me. And then I'm like, but that's not what you said. And so I'm over here trying to think logically. And then I'm getting in trouble emotionally. So this is where I got on the bandwagon of emotional intelligence and logical intelligence, and how sometimes I pick on logical intelligence because we don't want to do a disservice to ourselves and be so logical that we miss the mark and we miss the signs that people are trying to emotionally speak to us, which is usually the soul trying to speak to the avatar. That's how I like to break it down. It's so much more helpful just to separate the two to keep myself balanced. So that's why it's Jah and then my avatar. Okay, so for me, when I was learning as a child, we're only our physical avatar. So yes, we are the spirit itself and the emotional part. But as we age, we become the logical understanding of how I speak is how people are going to either receive me, respect me, love me, whatever. A lot of people, you see them mimicking words, and you get this a lot. It can be maybe an attitude and a vernacular and a vernacular and all those things, but I see it more with people who come from places in life where they're not allowed to express themselves, right? And so when you don't get to express yourself, you learn how to try to make sure you get every meaning of every word right. This looks like someone who is, the word police and all that, and someone who loves to debate and they love to be right, and they're a little bit critical sometimes because they were misused and mishandled in their emotional upbringing. And so now they don't trust emotion. So words are much more powerful because they've learned when they use certain words, people react a certain way. People are like, oh, you have such an eloquent, articulate way of speaking. And like, and I don't understand why we are that way. I mean, clearly there's a level of conditioning, I'm sure that's there. But it still is one of those moments of, okay, people don't actually, because I've met people where they're talking and they ain't saying nothing. But they so pretty, or the words just sound so pretty coming out their mouth. You like, facts, right? And it drives me nuts because I'm one of those people where, yeah, I might have a soothing voice, but if you hang out with me all the time, I am very matter of fact, so I'm very direct. And a lot of people don't know how to handle that, so they take it as, oh, your tone, oh, you're trying to tell me what to do, oh, you're trying to act like my dad. I'm like, no, that's none of that. You said something, I responded, and I gave you the actual answer in the meaning of the words, but you wanted me to use the tone of my voice to articulate a sound that would make you feel emotionally better about how to receive me. And so it's important to do both. I'm not saying one over the other is bad. Remember, it's all about duality. We're in duality school. So you have to remember that you're going to experience both halves of this type of energy. It's knowing how to recognize that you're not going to allow yourself to then forget to express that energy that needs to be spoken, so that you're not getting lost in translation when you're trying to, let's say, when you're going into new spaces and you're expressing who you are and you want people to genuinely see you for who you are. I've learned it's better to just use words that actually mean something to you versus trying to articulate or change your tone to sound like them. Because people don't realize when you try to sound like other people, you're sending out a mating call. You hear these birds? Those birds are outside. This isn't me playing music. That's how it becomes. Whatever voice it is, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, that's us. We tweet the same. We sound the same. We a flock. We go together. But in your deepest heart, you're like, I don't feel this way. No, don't none of this mean nothing to me. I don't actually care about this. But we get ourselves caught into these loopholes of type of connections because we're trying to sound like other people. We're trying to talk like other people. And so that's why I'm like, no, I use the words that are logical and then I back it up with my emotion. Some people use their emotion and then they back it up with the logic. That's okay as long as they're intertwined together. What I always talk about is the polarization of where you get so logical you can't receive any emotion, and this is people where it's like, oh my God, please, I'm begging you, we need this, just help us out. And you're like, oh well, that's too logical because now you're cold and callous. And you don't want to be so emotional that you're giving it all away. Oh, we need it. Okay, here, take mine. Now I need it. Oh gosh, and no one's here to help me. That's okay. Like, we don't do that either. Don't leave yourself exposed. So when you use certain words and you're speaking, choose to use words that actually represent how you feel. I know a lot of people wanted to sound pretty and they wanted to sound a certain way, but you're not here to try to do everything the best way for people to hear. Say it with truth. You know what I mean? Like, if you mean it, say it, but don't just say it just to make them feel good, and don't say it in a way to try to make them feel good. It's okay about service recovery. There is a level of like, I need to handle this person differently. I need to handle them a little more care than my usual hard-headed person, right? That's discernment, that's conscious reasoning, that's understanding that I have empathy for someone. But at the same token, I am not going to let them victimize themselves or villainize anyone else if they're choosing to use words that don't align with their actual meaning versus trying to use words that sound good, but they're not getting anything from it. It's not tangible. I always talk about understand, are you pouring into the vessel or is the vessel pouring into you? Because what you want to be overflowing. You want that other vessel to pour into you. You don't want to just be pouring everything you got into all these empty vessels and you have no idea where it's going. You're always depleted and you don't know why. It's because of how you talk to yourself. Remember, how you talk to yourself is how you're going to talk to other people. And how you talk to other people, or you're going to try to pull. Most people walk around trying to see how other people talk to see if they're as dark as them, or if they're as naughty as them, or if they're. That's the world we're in right now because we've hidden the darkness. The darkness is beautiful. The darkness is where we all came from. We all came from the womb of darkness and birthed into the light. So you don't want to hide darkness. Just say, hey, I'm into stuff that you might not be into. And that's okay. Everyone's not going to agree with you. This is what this earth is for. Again, we all get to have our soapbox we stand on, and however you want to go out, being a martyr for the cause is up to you. I'm not saying that causes aren't important. Do not get me wrong. I do speak very flippantly, but I also am a direct speaker. So I tell people, know how to pull what I'm saying out of the tone, because what I'm explaining is exactly that. Life is going to keep happening. Tragedy is going to keep happening. I've learned that so many bad things have happened in my past that I have become in the state of permanent happiness of it is what it is, because there's nothing I can do at a certain point. There's nothing I can physically do. There's things that I can do, and over time I can build momentum to make change. But for the most part, unless I have some superpower or some mega rich foundation behind me, I'm not going to make that much of a dimple right away. So I have to start practicing that type of energy with self. And so when I do know how to talk to myself and I do know how to use the proper words and tones to get and articulate across what needs to be said, then people will align with you who are meant to be called in by you. Again, just don't try to use fake words. Don't try, hey, what's up, bro? How you doing, bro? If that's not how you talk, don't talk like that, because that's an actual energy that calls in bros. Like, yeah. But then bros can, they go a whole nother level of too far sometimes. You're like, oh, I ain't that much of a bro. And so it's like, yes, talk how you speak. It's more important to hear, again, when I say talk how you speak, whatever voice you hear, and if there's not a voice you hear, whatever voice that comes out of here, however you articulate, however you pronounce, listen to the words. We have already said it, they are all spells. So however you speak is the spell you place on not only on yourself, but the environments which you seek, okay? So I hope that makes sense. Love you.